A recent Washington Post article said that 18 to 24-year-olds are at the highest risk for identity theft. Stay tuned to find out about this and other important consumer topics. Hi, welcome to Consumer Compass. I'm Eric Friedman, the Director of the Office of Consumer Protection. Our mission at OCP is to ensure integrity in the marketplace. We do that by enforcing consumer protection laws and educating consumers. We have a team of investigators ready to help. Our offices are located in Rockville, Maryland. In today's show, we're going to look at a groundbreaking program here at Consumer Protection, the CCOC. It stands for the Commission on Common Ownership Communities and is designed to help anybody living in a homeowners association or condominium. Then we'll switch it up and put me in the hot seat. We invited a group of young adults, post-college, the Gen Ys, the millennials, to ask their consumer questions. As they enter the job market, buy cars, sign rental agreements, use credit cards and social networks, we want to make sure they are prepared and protected. To end the show, we'll recognize our great team of volunteers here at Consumer Protection. Maybe you want to join us too. So let's begin with a segment on the Commission on Common Ownership Communities, or CCOC. We have close to 1,000 homeowner, condo, and co-op associations in Montgomery County. I recently sat down with Peter Dramalski and Liz Malloy to explain how the CCOC helps homeowners. Hi Peter, hi Liz, welcome to the show. Peter, let's start with you. You've been an investigator with the Consumer Protection Office for many years, and now you serve as staff to the Commission on Common Ownership Communities. Can you give us some background and overview of what the Commission does?
Sure. The Commission is the first agency in the country to be established to be an advocate for condominium and homeowner associations and for their members. It's composed of 15 volunteers from the community who are selected by the county executive and approved by the county council. It handles disputes between condominium associations or homeowner associations and their members, and it's an advocate for changes in the laws that can improve life in these communities. We were the first agency in Maryland as well as in the country, and we now have a couple of successors. Charles County and Prince George's County have offices. State of Virginia has just opened a statewide agency, and so has the state of Florida.
Well, it sounds like a unique organization. Liz, can you tell us, as a commissioner, how the organization is set up?
Well, basically it's set up with representatives who are residents of homeowner associations. There's currently 6. There will be 8. There was a change in legislation that allows now 8 representatives from communities. And the others are professionals, people who deal in the business of communities. Could be real estate or managers. And that gives a balance of views when we look at matters. And we meet once a month, every month, the first Wednesday, and we talk about what cases have been brought before us and whether or not we will accept jurisdiction to look at them. And we also talk about legislation that's pending and education efforts that we can take.
Very good. Now, Peter, does everybody live in a homeowners association?
We estimate at least a third of the county residents now live in homeowner associations, condo associations, or housing cooperatives, which is a substantial minority, and it's one that's growing all the time because most new housing is being constructed in these kinds of associations.
Right.
And just to add, when someone moves into a neighborhood that is an HOA, they will know because when they sign the papers for the house, it has to be explained to them that it is, and they see the papers.
Now, I understand that the Commission functions as an alternative dispute resolution mechanism. Can you give us an idea, Liz, on the kinds of disputes that the Commission sees?
Well, homeowners most frequently will bring complaints about elections of board members, or being required to do something that they don't want to do, or paying a fee. Homeowner associations, on the other hand, will tend to bring complaints against someone who isn't doing what they've directed them to do. They haven't filed an application to do an exterior change, or they haven't paid their fees, or they haven't done something they're required to do. If it comes to us and it's not a complaint that we can cover, we will explain that we don't have jurisdiction. We do try to get everyone to try to work it out themselves using mediation and then coming to us.
Right. I guess that's always better. Now, Peter, if somebody wants to file a complaint with the Commission, what is the process?
They can either call the office and we will send them a complaint package, or they can go to our website and print out the complaint form, which is online at our website under a section dealing with complaints. I'd like to emphasize on the dispute resolution thing now. If the Commission holds a hearing on a complaint, its decisions are legally binding and are enforceable by the county in court. So it's not purely an advisory body. Its decisions are just as binding as any decision issued by the circuit court or the district court.
Right. Now, Liz and Peter, are there things besides dispute resolution that the Commission does and work in other areas?
As I had mentioned earlier, we focus on education and legislation. We will monitor bills that are introduced in that legislation session, but we also try to provide education for both homeowner association and residents. We have architectural control facts that we have online. We do a newsletter that is also available online. We have instructions on how to hold an election. Any important thing on governing, we try to give information and how to do it so that we can avoid problems coming before us.
Online, we also have the Commission's manual for how to operate a homeowner association or a condo association, which gives a lot of useful information in layman's terms about how these programs actually work. I should say that the county is probably one of the very few sources that's freely available to people who live in these homeowner associations about their rights and responsibilities and how to operate a board of directors. It's very hard to find information online or in any other way to educate you on your rights when you're a member of these associations.
Right. I guess part of this is residents getting along with board of directors and board of directors knowing how to run associations.
That's right. There are no classes in this currently, and we would like to establish some to educate boards. The problem is that when people come on a board for the first time, they often have no background in operating or being on a board of directors, and they don't know how to do it properly. By the time they learn and leave, there's another new person coming on, and it's an ongoing process of educating board members in order to have the association be run properly and avoid problems.
And board members are volunteers. They have day jobs frequently, and so they're doing this in their free time. But they do need to follow certain procedures to protect the rights of everyone who's in the community. So they, in taking on board responsibilities, are taking on additional responsibilities. We want to make it easier for them.
Right. Well, I think we're all very fortunate in Montgomery County to have these good services through the Commission, and thank you for providing this information.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
If you want to find out more about CCOC, just go to our website at montgomerycountymd.gov/consumer or call us at 240-777-3636. Okay, so now we are changing direction a bit and focusing on the consumer issues that affect young adults. Historically, the children in this millennial generation have been guided by their parents through major decisions and don't have a lot of experience with credit cards, car loans, or housing contracts. In the county government offices, many of our interns and new hires are in this age group. We invited them and their friends to a panel discussion.
Hello, I'm Christy Main. I'm an intern here for the Montgomery County government, and today we are in the County Council hearing room. We borrowed it to conduct a Q&A between Eric Friedman, the Director of Consumer Protection, and some young adults. Eric, welcome. Young adults, welcome. What sparked the idea for this forum was a recent Washington Post article that reported 18 to 24-year-olds are most at risk for identity theft. I think most people assume senior citizens are victimized, but it turns out not to be true. Let's begin with some facts from the Washington Post article. According to a study of 5,000 people nationwide, last year there were an estimated 11 million identity fraud victims of all ages, and thieves stole about $54 billion from them. But it turns out that young people are hit the hardest. The identity theft was connected to bank accounts, social security numbers, and other personal information. So, Mr. Friedman, can you give us some advice? Does this mean we should stop using our credit cards, Facebook accounts, stop buying things online? How dangerous is it out there in the virtual world?
Thanks, Christy. Look, you guys are the new consumers in Montgomery County. Now, the trick is you don't want to be the new victims because, as we all know, there are unscrupulous merchants and there are con artists out there looking for exactly that, new victims. So you as a group, 18 to 24 years old, are going to be bombarded with all sorts of problems. Old scams never die. They just go high tech. So it used to be when someone stole money from you, they had to physically take the wallet out of your pocket. But now they can steal your numbers through computers, through cell phones. So we have to be aware of this and just be cautious when we're giving out our numbers, when we're online, or when we're using a cell phone. And according to the article and study, the biggest problem is that people in this age group don't check their checking account, don't check their bank records as frequently as older consumers do. And so you don't detect the problem soon enough. So crooks know that if they steal your identity, steal your credit card numbers, that they may have 131 days before you even report it to the bank. With older people, they may detect it sooner. So that seems to be the biggest problem with identity theft, which is the #1 problem in America, according to the Federal Trade Commission.
Good point. Now let's go to our first question.
I'm currently looking for a job, and as you know, it's very difficult to find one in this economic environment. Recently, I've been getting this work-at-home solicitations. Are they all scams, or can I actually make some money from them?
Well, Will, you're not alone. Many people in today's market are trying to find new ways to make money. Unfortunately, most of the work-at-home plans and advertisements are, in fact, a scam. Now, they come in different kinds of flavors. They might have you stuff envelopes at home or assemble products at home, or it might be a mystery shopping type organization, or they may have you buy supplies and then have you sell them in the future. But for the most part, they sound too good to be true, because the truth is, if I could stay home and make $3,000 a week stuffing envelopes, I might do that rather than work in the Consumer Protection Office. But what we have found is that consumers are sometimes susceptible to these types of plans because they really want to try and make some money. Now, I can tell you, in Maryland, it's illegal for them to charge money up front for any of these programs. So that's really a red flag. If the company says they want you to buy products up front, or if they tell you they want you to send them money and then they'll send you some information about how to start a work-at-home program, that is telling you that they're doing something illegally from the get-go, and you really want to stay away from a program like that.
I joined a cell phone plan that I am now discovering is too expensive. How do I get out of it?
Well, actually, that might be a problem. A cell plan contract is a future service contract, and it's not unlike a health spa contract or a contract for an alarm on a house. You've signed an agreement that said that you will pay a monthly fee for a period of time, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. And if you try and break that contract, the fine print says that you will pay a fee to them, a penalty fee. So it may be difficult for you to actually cancel a contract like that, which is why it's really so important to read it very carefully, whether you're signing up for a health spa or a cell phone plan, to read it very carefully and find out what the terms are, find out if there's an early termination fee that they will charge you, because it may be very difficult, if not impossible, to cancel that contract.
Great. Now let's take a question from the public.
I'm thinking about buying a new car, but I'm worried about financing it. Any suggestions?
Well, purchasing a car may be the biggest purchase you make right now. And whether you purchase a used vehicle or a new car, the truth is, if you don't do some homework, you run the risk of being ripped off. So that you really have to do some legwork and figure out prices and comparison shop. Now, there are two big things you want to consider when buying a used car or a new car. Number one, if you're buying a used vehicle, you want to have it checked out by a mechanic who knows what he or she is looking at. Second big issue is financing. If you can't pay cash for the vehicle, the seller may want to sell you some type of financing. You're probably better off getting a loan from a bank or a credit union than having a car dealer sell you both a car and financing.
Excellent. And now we have another question.
Can you discuss rental agreements? I was thinking about moving in with a couple of roommates who I don't know very well, but how can I protect myself?
Well, that's a good question. You know, we actually had a complaint in our office where someone was on Craigslist and saw an apartment for rent, and the person said they were out of town, but they showed pictures of the apartment. It looked great. The price was really low, and they told this person all they had to do was to send or wire the money to them, and then they would mail the keys to them for that apartment. And it turned out that there was no apartment. It was a total scam. So you really do have to be careful when renting apartments and worrying about roommates and things of that sort. Now, there actually is a separate agency in Montgomery County called the Landlord Tenant Affairs Office, and they are here to help consumers with problems specifically with rentals. And you also want to keep in mind that anyone who rents an apartment has to be licensed with Montgomery County.
Speaking of housing, Mr. Friedman, here's an email I got from Shafali Vyas, who is a graduate student at American University here in D.C. I'm from Toronto and was looking on Craigslist for housing in the D.C. area. I found this great apartment and responded to the ad. The man who listed it said his daughter had the apartment, but they had to give it up because she got sick. He said he was from England. It had great pictures and the address of a legitimate building in D.C. We exchanged emails a lot, and he wanted personal information for the background check and also for me to wire him the money for the deposit. I finally showed it to my boyfriend's mom, and she said it was a scam.
Well, that sounds very similar to the kinds of complaints we have received in our office. Two things. Again, when you're looking online, you've got to be very suspicious as to the information that's there and the questions that are being asked. Many times, there'll be advertisements online that really are just a trick to get information from you. They want to find out personal information like your name, your address, social security number, zip code, things of that sort. And it might be a job offer. They may be offering to employ you and asking you for information, or they might use an apartment rental as the way to do that. So we just all have to be very careful and be very suspicious of these kinds of requests that are out there, and really don't give personal information on the phone, through the internet, online, because you don't always know who's on the other end of that computer.
Here's our next question.
Hi, my friend was studying abroad and lost her backpack, and everything was stolen: her credit cards, her license, her passport. And she's still trying to fix it. Is there anything that she can do?
Well, that sounds like a real problem. You know, all roads lead back to identity theft. So what you're talking about is someone who may in fact become the victim of identity theft because she's lost her credit card numbers and all this personal information. One thing to do would be to contact the 3 major credit reporting bureaus and put on a fraud alert.
I've heard that trying to get a new passport in a foreign country can be a hassle. Now let's go back to another question from the public.
I don't have a credit card. Everybody tells me I should get one just to help build my credit. What do you advise?
Okay, so when you're starting out, you do need to establish a credit history before you can eventually apply for a loan. One way to do that is to get a credit card, but you have to be very careful, because if you can't make the payments on that credit card, you're going to get a negative credit history, and that's probably worse than having no credit history at all.
Great, thanks. I think we have another question about credit.
Is it better to get a prepaid credit card or a regular credit card with monthly fees?
Well, it can be tricky. A prepaid credit card is for people who generally can't qualify for a credit card with a large credit limit. But you want to be very careful, because some of the prepaid cards have very high fees, annual fees, monthly fees, and even fees that are called dormancy fees, where they will lose value on the card without you even using it. So you want to be careful. Get a prepaid card if that's an option for you, but check on the fees first.
And here we have another question.
Hey Eric, my question's about student loans. I currently have about $100,000 in student loan debt, and I currently have them on forbearance, but I'm only allowed to have them on forbearance for 6 months. What happens when my forbearance is up and I cannot pay my student loans?
Wow, Heather, that sounds like a real problem, and I'm afraid that robbing a bank is probably not an option. Student loans are very complicated. There are different types of student loans, private loans, federal loans, different kinds of federal loans, and there's not a whole lot that our office can do to help you with a situation like that, but we can put you in touch with the right people. The National Consumer Law Center is a private nonprofit organization right here in Washington, D.C. that helps people with student loan problems. And they will take you through a step-by-step process to try and figure out what options you have, whether even bankruptcy is an option or not an option, if there's some way you can bring down the payments. And you can work with them or a reputable credit counselor to try and work out a problem like that. And Heather, you're not alone. Many people in your age group went to school, took out loans in reliance upon the thought that they would get a high-paying job as soon as they graduated. The problem is the market dried up. They can't get a good job. They can't get a job that pays them enough money to pay off their loan, and they're stuck in the predicament that you described. In fact, we even had people who went to vocational schools and paid money to the school through a loan program. The school went out of business. They didn't even get the education, didn't get the degree, but they were still stuck paying the bill.
Great. Thank you. I think we have time for one final question.
Hey, Eric. I received a bill from a debt collection agency saying that I owe Verizon $43. I'm positive I don't. I did have an account with them a little less than a year ago, but I'm positive that it was all paid off. And I actually called Verizon, and they informed me that I don't owe them any money. What should I do about a situation like this?
Well, first of all, you should probably get a prize for being a smart consumer and not assuming that the bill you received was an accurate bill when, in fact, it may, in fact, be a phony one, is what you're saying, and calling Verizon to find out whether or not you actually owe them the money. It sounds like you received an outright scam from a company that purports to be a collection agency that probably obtained your name from some mechanism. Who knows how? Maybe they were dumpster diving and got records, old records from Verizon or whatever, and they send out these supposed bills to a lot of consumers, hoping that some of them will not be as smart as you and just go ahead and pay it and think, well, I must have incurred that debt but don't remember. So I would applaud you for doing some research and checking it. I would encourage you to file a copy with our office so we can look into it. Maybe that there are other people out there we can get alert out to consumers. But it sounds like you were almost the victim of some collection scam, but luckily smart enough to stop it in its tracks.
Thanks. I think we got a lot of great information. Panelists, I want to thank you for coming and taking the time to be here. People out there, thank you very much for your questions. And Mr. Friedman, thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Wow, all good questions. Again, if you need more information on any of these topics, you can go to our website or check the Federal Trade Commission's website at www.ftc.gov. Issues like identity theft, mail fraud, and credit card fraud are actual federal crimes, so they have to be investigated at that level. Our office, though, can take the information and direct you to the proper authorities. So to end the show, I'd like to recognize our own interns and volunteers. During the 12th Annual National Consumer Protection Week in March, County Executive Ike Leggett honored these volunteers. Let's meet a few of these folks as well as the others who help us.
My name is Janet Bako, and I've been a volunteer here at the Office of Consumer Protection since last fall. My duties include answering the phones and directing incoming calls either to our investigators or to the other consumer resources in the county and the state of Maryland. I have conducted research projects for the investigators. I researched the new Maryland Locksmiths Act, and I'm currently doing a survey to determine what home improvement contractors are properly licensed, a random survey. I've distributed various educational materials and generally assisted wherever I can. What I like about working here is the people, and I know you must hear that an awful lot. The people are great. They know how to use volunteers. So you're always busy, you're always doing something, and you're a very important part of the office, and you feel like that.
And my name is Bill Blandford, and I've been volunteering here since 1991. I'm going on my 20th year. And I enjoy coming here because of the sociability of the staff and the volunteers. And I enjoy also helping out people who call in for complaints, both the merchant and the consumer, and the following up to find out what the final outcome was. I enjoy the drama of some of these cases. They read like a soap opera. But knowing what the final result was, and that both sides were generally, I'd say 95%, they are satisfied with the outcome.
My name is Amanda Elbert. I've been an intern here since January of 2010. My duties include a jurisdictional review of different cases that come in and trying to evaluate what some of the common problems are. And I really enjoy working here because the independence given to the different